Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Well, this is going to be part 4 of working here on the old Allis-Chalmers 200. When you saw me there in part 3, I'd taken the head off the thing and it got sent off to get worked on. Now we got it back. So the guy put new valves into it and went over it, checked it all out, made sure it was good and flat and built it. Let's see if I can get it tipped up onto its side here. There we go. Alrighty, there we are. Got all the new valves in it. Good and flat. That's why I keep it here on this old pallet on the wood. I can kind of move it around some, it's not going to hurt it. So had that done, then also had all the injectors rebuilt. And so the one guy told us that at least 2 of these, well maybe 3 actually, were poor. So basically just kind of just dribbling the fuel into it. 2 were just so-so. He said 1 was sort of good, and that was all. So we got all them done. And they threw the old valves back into it and sent them back with us. Put them in the scrap pile. So got the new head gasket setting up there. This video is I'm just going to be bringing you along kind of more or less the highlights. And so if you saw part 1, 2, and 3, that was taking everything all off. This time I'm just going to bring you along. I'll bring you back in here once I get the headset back onto it. And like I say, this will be just showing the highlights, and I'll probably also include starting it up. And so I'll bring you back in once I got the headset back on here. Alright, got the headset on here. Whoop, almost dropped one. I dropped taking and put my push rods back in. If you hear some background noise, that's my squirrel cage fans running. I think it's about 90 out, or actually low 90s. So get these all dropped down in here. Okay, got to get the rocker arm assembly on here. And let's see. Got to get the rockers lined up with the push rods. And now I get the head bolts in. I gotta look in my manual to find out what the torque specs are to get these torqued back down to. Okay, I'm gonna finish getting the rest of these here in, and there's little short 3/8 bolts that go right in these little front tabs to bolt the assembly to the top of the head. And here's the little 3/8 bolts that drop right down in there between the valve springs. If I can get the dumb thing started. Kind of play with it. I've got the back head bolts already started. I would have thought I would have had it lined up. Okay, that one started. And that one started. I'll finish getting all them put in. Okay, I looked in my book, and 150 foot-pounds on the head bolts. These little cap screws right here, 28 to 33 foot-pounds. So probably what I'll do, I'm going to get my socket and grab my impact. That way I just take and run all these down and then actually put the final torque onto them with my torque wrench. Alright, got my 3/4 inch socket. There we go. Like I say, this is just the fast way to get them all run down the bottom. And that one's got a engine hoist or a pickup hook, which I didn't use. Okay, got all the head bolts here all run in, got my torque wrench, and I've been looking here in my manual, and these things are actually really handy. INT shop manuals, and this one here actually covers a whole bunch of different models right there. All the 7000 series, all the D series, well, D19, 21, and 21 series 2, 180, 185, XT190. So covers quite a wide range of stuff. But yeah, so it starts out at 63 foot-pounds, then 73, then topping out at 150. So it says to start in the middle and then start working out toward each end. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'll set you back up here on the thing, that way you can watch a little bit. I gotta grab my socket. Okay, I'm sitting at about approximately 63. Now if I had a fancy schmancy torque wrench, it would beep at me. Instead, this here just snaps. Like that. Alright, now I just gotta go across here doing all these. Like I say, I'm not going to show doing all this kind of stuff, but hey, you saw the first one, so I'll probably bring you back in once I'm actually done torquing all the head bolts. Okay, well, I got all the head bolts here all torqued down, and now the next thing is getting the rocker arms adjusted, and it tells here in my manual how to do it. Trying to figure out how to get this engine to turn over. With the injectors not in the thing, there's no compression. I'm going to have to see if I can take and maybe tighten up them fan belts, and I'm hoping I can take and turn it with that. Be about the only way of taking and roll that thing over. Because it says in the book to bring piston number 1 up the top dead center on compression, which means both valves are closed, and then go across and check, I think it's the intake, and then when you've adjusted all the intake valves, rolled around until piston number 6 is at top dead center, then go across and check all the exhaust, which looks like, yeah, I can see the valve right through there. So this here and this here are the exhaust valves in number 5 and 6. This one and this one are the intake. So now I gotta do a little belt tightening. Okay, I got piston number 1 up to top dead center. I actually use a little flag wire and drop right down the injector hole and sit on top of the piston, and then hold the wire with one hand, turn the fan with the other, and then you can feel it when it hits up at the top. It stops pushing the wire up. And so the book is showing that with piston number 1 at the top, I can go ahead and hit both intake and exhaust on number 1. So I'll set you up here. And the clearance gap in my manual is 18 thousandths. So I got my feeler gauge, got number 18. And let's see here. This here is the exhaust. Okay, now that that feels kind of tight. All the other ones I've done, I've not had them quite down that tight. So we're gonna take and turn that adjuster back there just a smidge, I thought, if it'll turn. I just had one, or another one moving. Well, I'm gonna grab a ratchet. Okay, got me a 6.38. Okay, there it's moved some. Ah, yeah, there we go. Taking back at just a smidge. Don't want too loose, but yet you don't want it so tight you can't. All right, there's a decent amount of resistance. We're gonna call that good. Let's jump over here to the intake. And now that one definitely needs to be adjusted. All right, tighten him up. All right, there it pinched down a little bit more. All right, I'm gonna call that good. Okay, I gotta do the other 5 now, so I'll bring you back in when I'm done. All right, just got done here getting all the rocker arms adjusted, so we're good to go on that. And oh, the old sun shining here in the shed so bright. Hopefully the camera's halfway in focus. Next thing I gotta do though is get the exhaust manifold set up here. So I got my new gaskets out. At first I thought they didn't send me enough, but then I realized there's only 3 ports because there's 2 exhaust valves per port, and so that's why there's only 3 instead of 6. I'm used to on all the other motors having 6 of those ports on the thing. So I'm gonna grab the manifold and we'll get it set up here. And here on the manifold, just like I think I remember showing you on the red tractor, you can see he resurfaced that one also to make sure it's good and flat. Alrighty, let's see here. Ah, there we go. Now the tricky part, getting them gaskets to hold in place until I can get my bolts started. And let's see here, if I can get one bolt poked through there, get the gasket hooked on the end, and try and keep it tipped up like that. Rock it back down in there. Something about like that. Oh, come on. Sounds like somebody just pulled in the driveway. So I may have to take and turn the camera off. If I can get that bolt hole to line up, would be good to go. There we go, just like that. Now I gotta do the other 2, and the manifold and the exhaust manifold gasket will be on. Okay, that's got that bolt started at least anyway. Now I gotta grab their bolt, get poked in here on their side, and now I have one gasket locked in place. So I'm gonna grab a bolt. And we'll see if... Problem is, there ain't much room for your fingers or any there. Trying to get that to line up and drop through. There we go. I'll whack my hand on something again. That's easier said than done, let me tell you. Trying to start it with the end of my fingers, trying to get that bolt to spin in there. I think I got it. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's got that gasket in place and the bolts are started. So now I just gotta take and do the other two. And then I gotta look at my manual to find out what the torque specs are for that thing. I got all the bolts here in, so I looked in my manual and it says to go at 30 foot-pounds on these exhaust bolts here. So let's take and make the torque wrench click. All right, it don't snap real loud when it's not set at a real high torque rating, but that's what I want. Go ahead and hit the next one here. All right, there we go. I just gotta get the rest of them now. All right, exhaust manifold bolts are in. Now, I want to take, and if I can keep from spilling this, I want to put the valve cover on. Before I do, however, I take and put just a little bit of oil up here on top of the rocker arms. That way when the tractor first starts, these aren't running dry. Alrighty, now the fun job. Get these bolts lined up, or the bolt holes to line up. Not too bad. Sometimes the cork gasket can be kind of off just a smidge on the hole. I'm getting them to drop down in there just right. Alright, now I'll get the bolts put in. Alright, valve cover's on. The little bolts are tightened up. Wasn't sure how easy it's going to be to get them bolts down through there because, like I said, the holes in the cork didn't exactly match with the hole in the cover. However, once you set the cover down, and I just took some black silicone to get the gasket to stick to the cover, and once you set it down on there, then you sort of half see the hole, so you just wiggle that bolt down through there and shove into it, and then it'll drop. You can push it into the actual bolt hole in the top of the head. So that worked out good. All right, next thing, I'm going to start putting injectors in. All right, I've already got number 1 here put in, so I'll jump up here to 2. Got a little copper washer. You drop down in there, and that's it seals everything up. So get him flipped over. Let me grab my little pick and I'll get flipped back the right way. And or a screwdriver works also. There we go. All right, let's get the washer drop down in there. Now I'll grab an injector. And we'll get it dropped in. Just like that. And now the 2 injector bolts. Now I gotta look in my manual to see what the torque specs are on these. Okay, then here's the injector line. Now the camera's almost right smack dab in the way. Oh man, I grab a wrench. Right there beside the exhaust manifold, it is kind of hot. Alright, get that to line up. Can't get the, I can see it's not sitting real straight. There we go. Well, I thought anyway. Okay, now we're beginning to go on. Yeah, there we go. Sometimes them little swivel heads get kind of froze up. Like I say, there went the light. Especially with it being right here beside the exhaust manifold, get a lot of heat right there, and so that can kind of make everything kind of want to seize up just a little bit. Alrighty, that's got that. Now I'll finish tightening that thing up, and then got 4 more to do, and then I've got to get these torqued in. Well, I got all the injectors in, all torqued down to my manual said 9 to 12 foot-pounds, so I put them all at 12 foot-pounds. Got the return line on, got the return line here coming up off the top of the fuel pump right there, coming up and around. Now I've got to take and put the turbo on, and I've got to take and clock the thing. So this piece here has to take and roll over, that way it can go into the air tube for the intake. So gotta take and loosen up these bolts right here, that way this piece here will rotate. Okay, I just got these bolts right around here loosened up, and so that allows this piece here to rotate. Well, I thought anyway. Huh. There we go, finally. And, well, now I gotta get the intake manifold on, because that rubber tube comes over here somewhere, and that way I know where to set the turbo and then get this here tightened back down. So go and take and throw these lock nuts back on these studs. We'll tighten this down, that way the turbo is mounted and it quits flopping around, it can't go anywhere. And then I'll work on getting the intake manifold on. Alright, I just got the air intake manifold put back up here against the head, getting these bolts here all put in now. And then I just got to take and connect it right there to the turbo, and then got the air tube here that comes from the air filter element, and that will connect to the turbo also. And then I've just got to put the thermostat housing in, put the antifreeze into it, and this is going to be base ready to go. Alright guys, well, as you just saw, I was working on the air intake, but we got the hood all on, all these bolts tightened down, and so I'm going to set the camera up and try and record getting this thing started. for a little bit until it got the air out of the lines and the injectors, which is what I wanted, because it lets it take and get some oil pumping up. But so far though, running good. Alright guys, well I just pulled it back here in the other shed, so I'm going to call this and end the video. So take care, thanks a lot for watching, we'll see you next time.